welcome to Mukbang Entertainment Headquarters. I'm your host, Jessica, and today we are eating a shrimp garlic butter pasta that I made. Um, Very, very good. I've got some cheesy garlic bread here, and I've got this soda that I was out at the gas station, and I saw this soda. It's called Fago. I don't know, but it's cotton candy flavor. So I decided that sounds pretty interesting. Let me give it a try. Um, Other than that, what we do here is that we watch movies, TV shows, all kinds of form of entertainment, and I comment and review it. So without further ado, I think you guys all know that the movie today that we're going to be reviewing is called Chloe. Um, it's a very good movie. It has a few pretty well known actors and actresses in it. Um, I'm trying to think because today was a very hectic day. But the movie's called Chloe right now. It is on Netflix, so you guys should definitely go and check it out. I don't know how long it'll be there, but hopefully you've already seen it because I try to let you guys know beforehand what I'll be watching. So let's just get into the movie. Well, the movie starts off. Well, first let's pour the soda. I'm very curious of how this tastes. Wow. Tell you one thing, I like the color. I like certain colors in drinks, so this color is pretty nice. Let's taste it. Mmm. Tastes like cotton candy. So let me try this pasta. God, this is really good. I don't know if I can let you see that. You can see it, but it's fine. I put a lot of shrimp in it because I like shrimp. Mm. Try one of these breadsticks. Okay, so the movie starts off. A woman who works this really nice job. She's a doctor, and then she's a gynecologist. And she's at work, and she's noticing a young lady outside of her office window. Um, she's noticing her go into this building. Now, I don't know if this is the first time she saw this girl or if she's been just peeping out this girl. I don't know. But that's how it starts. Then it flashes over to her husband. already all this, maybe. I don't know. It's good. Um, so her husband's a college teacher, and he's teaching, and he's near the end of his lecture, and the students are like, "Oh, we would love to take you out tonight." I was a girl student, and he was like, "Actually, it's my birthday tomorrow, and I have a flight. It leaves like an hour and a half, so I have to go." And everybody starts saying happy birthday to you. The class starts singing him happy birthday, basically. So I guess he's really loved by his students. So after that, this pasta is bomb. It really is. Like, so after that, excuse me, um, it flash forwards to um, the wife is at the house and she's planning a birthday party for her husband because his birthday is coming up. Um, she's got everybody there, friends, family. Um, Everybody's like, "Oh, you're being such a good wife to do this great party for him," and she's like, "Yeah, I'm trying." And so her son comes home with a girl, and she's like, "Oh, your father will be home any minute, so come and join us." And he just goes straight upstairs. He's like, "I don't want nothing to do with you, Mom, or this party." That is good. I like my straws. You know. Wow. I will get that again. So the son goes straight upstairs. He don't want nothing to do with the party. Look at that. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I wish you could taste it. Just flavor. Mm-hmm. So she's like, "Oh well. I think the son has an issue because a friend at the party was like, "Well, your son's doing better," and I'm like, "If that's doing better, then I don't know what he was like before, but maybe he has some problems." So a phone call comes in, and she's like, "Oh, that must be him." Everybody quiet, and so he calls and says basically he missed his flight and he's not gonna be able to come in. He'll be there tomorrow. Is basically what he says. And she's like, "Well, did your flight landed on time? What happened?" "No, I missed it." And so she was very disappointed. Understandably so. I would have been like, But what can you say? You can't prove anything. So she said, "Okay, that's fine." So as he's saying this to her, there's the student behind him that wanted to take him out on, I guess, dinner or whatever. This is good. You guys should try it if it's in your neighborhood. So he hangs up with her, clearly he's lying. He's about to go. He's not lying. We don't know if he's lying so much about the flight and all of that, but we do know he's deciding to leave out the fact. Excuse me. He's deciding to leave out the fact that he's actually going to drink or something with this young student of his. So she's like, fine, I'll see you when I see you. She tells people at the party he's missed his flight. He's not going to be here, but let's keep the party going. So she does. And when something like that happens, everyone's gossiping. Everybody's, I wonder what's going on there. Which is, understandable. I mean, your husband was supposed to be here. But it was a surprise party, so it wasn't like he knew the party was happening. So after that, I'm trying to think. After that, she wakes up the next day, and he's in the bathroom shaving his face. And she's just like, having small chit chat, and he's like, well, I'm going to be busy. I've got to do this and that. I got to work. So I need to head on out, and I'll grab coffee while I'm out here. Basically, he does not intend to hang out. Excuse me. He doesn't intend to hang out, chit chat, catch up, or nothing like that with his wife. He's like, I'm walking out the door. And she's like, well, you're not running late now. And he leaves. So you quickly peep out that their marriage is strained to some degree. I mean, clearly. So, after that, they meet with this couple to basically, do a double date thing. And the guy's like telling the wife, oh, the man the other man who has his own date, the friend of the married couple, he's like, oh, you should wear your hair down because men like it. She's like, okay, whatever. Her husband orders a drink, and he's flirting with the waitress. And his wife is like, oh, once again, you have to flirt with some woman. Now, personally, for me, I think that's not cool to be flirting like that in front of your wife. I don't think you should be flirting really, even if your wife isn't there. But if your wife is there, like, come on. This is so good. I wish you guys could taste it. You see, I'm eating. So she goes to the bathroom because she's annoyed with what she just saw. Her husband is clearly flirting. So she's in the bathroom. She unloosens her hair because I guess she's gonna take that man's advice. And she's sitting in the bathroom stall and she hears someone crying next to her. And she's like, well, are you okay? Is there anything I could do? Can I help? And she's like, well, there's no tissue paper in the stall. Which is, clearly not what she's crying about, but that's what she had to say. So she gives her some tissue paper. And finally, the girl comes out of the stall she's doing her last little touches of freshening up, and um, the girl says, "Oh, thank you," and she's like, "Oh, no problem." Then the girl tries to give her some kind of little headpiece that clearly is hers, but she wants to say that she found it. The lady says, "No, thank you. I don't want that headpiece." And says, "I have to go back to my husband." So she goes back to her husband. Um, they start talking about at the dinner table how there's all these single men in this restaurant who are having, not single men, married men in this restaurant who are having basically adulterous affairs in here. Like, I guess this might be the spot where men come and gather and do this. I don't know, but that's what they were talking about. So it ends there. They go home. They don't become intimate or anything. So she then suspects that her husband is doing something because he's like always very into his students, which happen to be women most of the time. And he's always chatting with them online. He just has like this great, amazing rapport, it seems. Oof, excuse me, with his students. So she just gets tired of it. And so finally, she finds out this girl and she meets up with her at a bar. And she says, "I want you to basically try to seduce my husband, or not seduce him, but be available, kind of approach him, a light flirt, to see if he responds to that." And the girl first thought the woman was there for her. The girl's name was Chloe, and that's what the movie is called. So Chloe thought the married wife was there for her, and the wife was like, "No, I'm not here for you. Um, I'm, thinking you're just someone my husband would find attractive." And so she agrees to do it. She's going to pay her. And so she tells her, the Chloe, what her husband looks like and where he'll be at this certain time of day, what he'll be doing, so she'll know who he is. And so she goes, she sees him. He's doing exactly what the wife said he would be doing. He was sitting in this like coffee shop, drinking coffee, reading his paper. And to be honest, just to know that her husband was actually there doing what she knew him, what she thought her husband would be doing, what he's always done. The fact that he was there would have made me feel like, okay, well maybe I'm tripping because he's doing what he always does. So the girl goes over there and asks for some sugar, and he says, "Oh yeah, have my sugar off my table." And she goes there and she pours it, and then that's the end of the scene. She smiles at him, he smiles at her, and that's the end of the scene. Fast forward, she goes back to the wife and she tells the wife, "I borrowed sugar from your husband, and then he smiled at me, and I smiled back, and he came and talked to me and asked me what my name was, and asked me, and I told him I was a student, and I told him I was speaking Japanese, and which made me flutter, and he said, "We'll speak some," and she blushed, she said. Chloe said, "I blushed, and I said, konnichiwa." I'm like, I was like, okay, this is interesting. Because, remind you, when she did see him in the cafe, we didn't see that whole thing. The only thing we saw was she asked for the sugar. He said, sure, have the sugar. She sat back down, poured the sugar in her coffee. She smiled at him. He smiled at her. And he went back to his paper. So that's all we saw. But supposedly this all happened. So the wife was like, well, it's not bad what he did, but he did approach you. And why would he approach you? Which, I agree. Like, I don't feel that that's appropriate. It's like, I don't understand what are you doing by approaching this woman who clearly is someone you're attracted to. You don't know her, so you coming to her table, doing all this little chit chat, a stranger basically. It's like you're coming on to her. Sorry, like, get out of here. And some women might want to say, "Oh, well, that's insecurity." I just call that wisdom. Nowadays, you can't be sitting there playing that game of, "Oh, I'm so confident in myself. I don't worry if my husband's basically grabbing on a woman's breast. It's okay." It's like, I don't understand that. But I'm not that type. I will say something even if a smile is given across the room for too long. Like, do you know her? Is there some connection you're trying to make? Like, especially when you're there with me. Anyway, so the wife is like, I'm not happy that he approached you. So I want you to go back out and try to see him again. So she pays her for that moment and for what she did. And so they're like, fine, I'll go out again. I'll see if he does anything. So this time she says they went to a picnic. Next time she meets the girl says, we went to a picnic and he wanted to kiss me. And he brought sandwiches and stuff. And he wanted to kiss me, but he didn't want to do it in public. He didn't want to see. So I took him to like this botanical garden. Like some kind of garden. You know how there's gardens where where they grow a lot of plants, and this is just an area where you go and you walk through and you got the rainforest type feeling all around you. So she took him somewhere like that. And she said she took him there and she took him way in the back. And then they kissed, and then she was rubbing on his penis. And she rubbed on it till he released. And I'm like, is that what the wife paid you to do? I would have been very upset, but this is the risk you have to accept when you want to play games like this. I would never go and pay some woman, strange woman, to do something with my husband. No. It sounds good at first, but then you have to think about, like, okay, this could play out in many different ways. So this is the story she tells the lady. The lady gets angry. She pays her. Then she goes home and she takes a shower. And it's like she's, kind of getting hot and bothered in the shower and thinking on what her husband was doing with this woman. Those are the flashbacks that are happening in her mind while she's taking her shower. So she gets in the bed. Her husband's awake on the other side of the bed. Eyes are open. And she gets in the bed, goes on the other side. They're both just backs are facing each other, and they go to sleep. So the next time she meets her, she, basically, the wife is basically, you can tell, she's just very neglected. Her son doesn't want anything really to do with her. He's having girls spend the night over. The girl he had spend the night dumped him, and she's trying to be there for her son, but her son's like, "Get out of here, mom." So she's just very lonely. She's very alone. She's like probably lost her way. So the wife finally, because when she was telling her the story of what happened in the garden, the wife couldn't hear the whole story. So she meets up with the girl again and goes to this like bar. And the girl finishes the story of what she did. She's biting his tongue and doing basically made him release. So she's just irritated about it, and she's thinking, okay, maybe I want you to meet him one more time. So she meets the husband again, and the wife meets the girl at a hotel. Now, at the hotel, the wife gets there and she tells the wife this whole story about what they did in the hotel room, how he turned on the TV and acted like he was watching the news, but he wasn't really watching the news, and then he couldn't get an erection. No matter like 3 or 4 times she tried and he couldn't get it up. So then she did something, they kind of calmed down, and then she gave him fellatio, and then he was hard, and then she put a condom on his penis, and by the time she got on him, he released quickly, basically. So the wife was hearing this, and looked like she was getting aroused right while the girl was telling her this. And the girl was like, "Is this turning you on?" And the wife didn't answer, but it looked like it was turning her on. So she gave her the money, and she just kind of started reminiscing about what was happening in the room. It was like she wanted to be that girl. So she was drinking and putting her lips where the girl's lips were. And then they walk out the hotel room together and they go down the hallway. And the wife asks, what kind of perfume are you wearing? Because she smelled, I guess, some kind of perfume on her. And she said it was lotion. And so the girl rubs the lotion on her hand. And that was the end. So the wife runs back to be at her son's recital. He plays piano, so she went to go see him perform. And so she's looking at her husband because he's there too, and she's running late coming in, and she's looking at her husband like, you just did something with that Chloe girl. And he's looking at her like, why are you late? So the wife, after the performance, they have like, the little where you hang out, reception, whatever you want to call it. So they're at this little gathering, and the husband once again is in some woman's face, and that just makes the wife storm out. She finds where this Chloe girl is. She takes her from her John, because she was talking to another man. So clearly, Chloe is, I think, an escort of some kind. So I just will say that. So she takes Chloe away from this man, and they go to a hotel room, and she's like, "Oh, how did he touch you? Touch me how he touched you." And so she's ripping open the girl's shirt, and breasts are flying out. And finally the girl just basically has sex with her. The woman has sex with Chloe. So after that, the wife comes home late in the night after that, because she left the performance of her son and the reception party area, and she ran to go see this girl. And then so she ended up coming home late with a taxi. And the girl was like, "Oh, is this where you live?" And she didn't stop in front of her house, but the girl was still like, "Is this where you live?" I'm like, oh my God. So she says goodnight to Chloe. She pays for her taxi to get home. She walks in the door, and her husband's just like, basically, who'd you have sex with? Do you love the person? How long has this been happening? And then the wife finally releases her thoughts and says, how many of your young students are you messing with? So basically, they're accusing each other. The son comes down from upstairs. He's hearing this conversation. The son is probably about, I would say, like 17, 16, 17. So the son comes down and he's hearing this conversation and he's like, what's happening? They're like, go upstairs, go to your room. And he's like, go to my room. Like, I'm not a kid anymore. But it's like, basically, give your parents, when you hear your parents fussing like that is when you turn into a mouse. If you do want to get the tea on what your parents are fussing about, do not make yourself visible. I'm just going to let you guys know that. If you 16, 17, okay, and you really want to get the tea on what your parents are fussing about, don't let yourself be seen. Because the moment you are seen, yes, it's, remove yourself out of this situation. That's basically how parents are. So he was told to go away. He was irritated, and that was the end of the night. The night was pretty bad. So finally, she goes back to work, and Chloe shows up at her job. And Chloe's got these flowers. So I'm like, oh, I really enjoyed last night. And she's like, there's nothing, we're not doing anything else. This, it went too far. I had a good time. I'm not going to say I didn't, but I don't want to make this a thing. That was just, she was in a desperate, vulnerable position. She realized very quickly when the sun rose, she did not want to go down that path anymore. Chloe came to her job with flowers. And so a woman wrote her a check. She said, do you need some money? And she wrote a check. And the girl was like, it's not about the money. She was all offended. But she took the check, mind you. But she left. And so, Chloe started to get a little demanding. She started popping up, trying to hang out with the son. So finally, the wife is like, okay, I need to face this head on. So she called her husband from his job to meet up so they can just talk and be honest about everything, put everything on the table. And he was like, I've never cheated on you. And he still wants to know, where were you that night and who was you messing with? And she didn't want to tell him at first. And so he was like, okay, you took me from my job and I'm the only one saying anything and I didn't do anything. He said, I've never cheated on her. So she says, okay, honey. So when she invites her husband to have this little putting all your stuff on the table, she also invited Chloe to come to that meeting. So when Chloe showed up at the table, he was like, who's that girl? And she was like, who? He was like, who is she? She could clearly tell by her husband's reaction that he had no clue of who she was. Like, it was blank face. And Chloe ran away. She left the restaurant before he could even get a full, he got to see who she was, but there was no conversation anybody had with each other. And so that was when the wife realized, I've been played. This young lady, Chloe, has been lying to me about everything. Everything that she said she did and went down with her and her husband never happened. She lied. And so her husband's leaving the restaurant because he's like, you ain't telling me anything. I'm telling you everything. And so he's about to bolt out the door. She runs after him, and then she finally confesses, what happened. She expressed how she just felt old. They went from having sex 3 times a day to 1 time a day to once a week. Then they had the baby. Well, she just lost who she was. She said she didn't even know how to seduce her husband anymore. She said she, thought she was 19, thinking she's 19, and she looks up and she's just this whole nother person. So she basically really desperately loved her husband. She loved him deeply, but she just lost who she was. She didn't know how to reconnect. And I think we all have experienced that. I think sometimes when you're with someone for so long, you kind of forget like how it used to be because you've just been with each other so long. It's just you just been doing whatever you've been doing, living life, dealing with the ups and downs, and so you kind of lose track and focus on the changes that have happened in your marriage. And when you start to realize it, then it just brings levels of insecurity in your mind. So I think that's where she was at. She was very insecure about who she was. She didn't know who she was, and her husband just, when she expressed all that to him, he just kissed her and loved her. He forgave her. I think it was also better that she went and did this sex thing with a woman than a man, because I think if it would have been a man, it might have been worse. So after that, the girl runs out the restaurant, and somehow she ends up the next day or whenever at the wife's son's hockey practice. And she just shows up there and she brought him this CD and all that. And so after that, she shows up at the house and she basically sees the son in the house. He's in there alone. She goes and wants to have sex in the parents' bed. She has sex basically with her son in their bed. So the wife comes home after having, so this is after the wife confesses to her husband. She goes home. He goes back to work. She rushes home. She's taking off her clothes. She's waiting. She can't wait to get in the bed and to get some of her husband that she's been missing for probably a minute now. And she sees her son in her bed, and her son is like, oh my God, come on, you have to go, you have to go. And she sees that it's Chloe in the bed with him. When Chloe met, and just to rewind a bit, when she was having sex with the son, she was looking at all the his mother's stuff. That was what was making her aroused. The son was like, look at me, because she wasn't looking at him. She was in her own little world thinking about the mom. So when the mom sees her in the bed, she's like, what the heck is going on? She tells her son to get out. She says, you shouldn't be here for this. You shouldn't see this. And the son's like, what are you talking about? I just had sex in your bed. What do you mean? So she pushes her son she pushes him out of the room, closes the door, locks it. And Chloe's like, you can't dispose of people. You can't just get rid of people like that. You can't treat people however you want to treat them. And she's losing it. She cuts her hand. Then she has this hairpin, and she puts it to her throat, and she's like, what do you want, Chloe? What do you want? This is what the mother is saying. And she's like, I want you to kiss me. And the son is running upstairs, and by the time she kisses Chloe, the son is witnessing this, and the mom sees her son see it, and she like immediately pushes the girl away from her. When she does that, the girl falls out. This window falls out because they have these big, like the whole house is made like of glass and windows and stuff. So when she pushes her, the window falls out, and Chloe's hanging on barely by her fingertips, and she falls out of the window and she dies. And later on, the husband, he comes to the house. The paramedics are taking the body away. And you could see that this was a big moment for the family. I would think it's a big moment for anybody. And so later on, the movie fast forwards, and the son is graduating from high school, and the mother and father, the husband and wife, they seem to have a very good relationship, a very close, loving relationship. It was almost like that situation brought them tighter. Even the son had, you could tell he was having a good relationship with his parents. And I think the reason his issue was that he had with his parents was because his parents were not very happy together. They were kind of, they loved each other, but they did not have that loving chemistry bond with each other. So at the end, that's how it ends. It's a graduation house party, a little get together at her home. And at the end of the movie, though, you could see that she was wearing the hairpin that Chloe girl had been trying to give her all this time, like forever. She was wearing it in her hair. And I didn't know what that symbolized. I'm guessing it symbolized that there would always be a part of Chloe in her life, because in a big way Chloe did save their marriage in a big way. I mean, in a twisted way, but she did help it. And so that's the way the movie ends. I would give it, scale of 1 to 10, I'd give it like an 8. It was a good movie. Good suspense, good twist. Although when I was watching it, I was thinking, you don't ever involve a stranger into your marriage who can possibly alter it in any way. That was just like, I felt like something about that Chloe girl was not legit. And how can you trust her anyway? You don't know her. You don't know her. She doesn't know you. She has no loyalty to you. So that was the end of the movie. This pasta is amazing. And I am full. My husband's probably going to eat the remaining bit. And I might have some more later. But right now I am full. So I hope you enjoyed the movie. That'll be it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed